Growing up, I lived for the most part in Charlotte, North Carolina area, and that meant I was condemned to the fate of being a Hornets fan or a Bobcats fan in the beginning. The league obviously dealt us a bad hand, and with MJ as our owner, the brightest spots we had came from Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson in that era. Now we are in a very tumultuous time where we're led by LaMelo Ball and his ragtag crew of individuals that love to seem to get into off-court drama. Obviously, we know the PJ Washington with Brittany Renner. We know about Miles Bridges, Book Knight. There's been a myriad of individuals. But the flavor of the day is Kai Jones. That being said, Kai Jones is a 6'11", 221-pound big for us, who has surprisingly jump off the page athleticism. He is Bohemian. So he was one of those very interesting pieces. He wasn't a big person in the rotation, but last season he did end up playing in 46 games, roughly 12 minutes a night, averaging 3.4 points to go along with 2.7 rebounds and 0.3 assists. That being said, he did end up shooting 55.8% from the field and 21.1% from three. Kai Jones was an interesting player because he has a very raw type of game, but he also was extremely athletic, and that was what makes him very enticing to the eye. There were many times, especially in the summer league, where you would see him just rise up and catch a lob or just dunk the ball himself. And despite being, yes, tall and lanky, he was just an athletic beast. That being said, there seemed to be other beastly qualities that he just couldn't get out of himself, which culminated in ultimately the infamous Instagram live video where he's just talking incoherently, sweating profusely, itching himself, and just twitching. It was a very underwhelming sight, and ironically enough, it came out the day after I posted about the Charlotte Hornets being a not necessarily dark horse team, but being a possible playoff team. And it seems like every time I have hope in them, they just fall to absolute oblivion. That being said, he was picked 19th overall in the 2021 draft, and that first year he really didn't play in that many games, only averaging about 3 minutes a night in the few games that he did end up playing. And he has finally been waived by the Charlotte Hornets, which rightfully so, all things considered, because after that video, he was talking about how he wasn't going to get traded, how he was better than a bunch of his teammates, Mark Williams and company, and it produced certain stats that might have led some people to believe that, but context matters, and quite frankly, we just haven't seen enough of a sample size for anything to prove his thought process correct. Beyond that, he believed that he was untradeable. He said that he was better than a lot of GOAT players in their prime, which, fair enough, that is a surprisingly good mentality to have. If you're a professional player in any sports field, you have to believe that you're at the very least capable of competing with the best guys the game has ever seen. Otherwise, what are you really doing at that point? You're just showing up to work every day, and nobody wants to see that. That would be confining yourself to being a permanent role player. You wouldn't have the random outburst of scoring that tends to happen to some guys just because they catch the ball and they're going hot, and then once they realize they're going nuclear, they just keep filling it up. We love to see performances like those because they don't come every day. And he did have that energy about himself. And so I thought it was just, a tad bit of overconfidence in the beginning, but he just kept doubling down until he requested a trade. And that was surprising, for one, because he has no trade value, really. And for two, also surprising because it's almost as though he didn't realize he couldn't get out of his own way. We know that he thinks he's a great player. We know that he believes he can do so much more if coaching staffs believe in him and play him more minutes. But he did him no favors when he had the video come out, didn't back down. He actually doubled down and then said he's just so great, talked about trash about his teammates, and then wasn't with the team for the majority of this beginning part of the training camp and preseason just to request a trade. So they waived him, rightfully so. I mean, at that point, you've made yourself a distraction. You already were a distraction, but you compounded it, continued to, spoke down on your teammates that were a part of the organization. And at the end of the day, it is a business. So you spoke down against your fellow employees at the business. And so the business owners decided, there needs to be a change, and the manager went ahead and got him up out of there. Now, in the immediate future, it might seem like it makes the Hornets a little bit thin at the power forward spot, but you have to remember that PJ Washington is coming off a career year for himself, and Miles Bridges, though there might be a little bit of rust, admittedly after serving the remainder of his 10-game suspension, will be likely back to, at the very least in my eyes, an 18-8 form if he doesn't average, if he isn't capable of going back up to 20 points per game. Because that duo of LaMelo and Miles Bridges was just chef's kiss beautiful to watch, even though we were losing. That being said, it's reasonable to assume that there will be a team eventually that takes a risk on Kai Jones. He won't have a substantial level of play, but you might have a team like the Celtics or something who have enough other things going on to where they can just weather the storm after the media takes him and they finish with him and get him to just quiet down and play his role. And if that's the case and he is willing to play his role, then by all means, he'll have an opportunity in this league because he is athletic. He is only 22 years old. There are going to be chances, opportunities, and time, space, and opportunity just in the league for him. But with all that being said, thanks for tuning in this video, guys. Make sure to like the video so that the algorithm knows to push this out to further viewers. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe, turn on those post notifications, leave us a comment and let us know what you think. I love to have intelligent discussions with you guys down below. And without any further ado, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in to this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.